Yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to tie a Sculpzila, this guy right here. You're going to need some spinner wire, and I can show you how to do that in a later video. I pre-do those, so it's a lot easier when I go to tie the fly. You're going to need intruder wire in a color of your choice. I like to use intruder hooks. This is a size 1 Dynachi. They're pretty expensive, but I like to use those ones. You're going to need a helmet right there. I think they're called Sculpin helmets. And then as far as feathers, you're going to need a red guinea feather. You're going to need a duck feather.
Mallard colored wood duck.
And then you're going to need for dubbing some ice dubbing, ice dubbing and chartreuse. All right. Okay, so you want your rabbit strip, that piece, what it's attached to line up with that wire at the end, and it'll it's just perfect placement for the hook on the number 1 hook. Okay, you're gonna get your dubbing. And then for the top fin, I just peel off a little strip off the rabbit, maybe a centimeter long. And you're gonna place that right on top. Get it right on top right there. There's like a little wing or his dorsal fin. Okay, see that? And this can move around when it's in the water. These are both going to be moving back and forth, so it gives it really good movement. And then I'll also show you how to strip any kind of feather, a guinea feather, for any kind of wrapping, like a woolly bugger or any steelhead fly, to get really nice, consistent wraps. I'll show you a little thing I learned off a little video. So you take the fiber and you're gonna grab it. I grab with one hand, and this takes a little practice, but you grab it on the side you don't want, and you're gonna rip all that off, and it'll come right off on that strip like that. You can toss that aside and use it later, and then what you're left with is a strip with, I'll clean it up a little bit. Okay, so you're gonna be left with this strip here with one side. So kind of stroke it back like that, and you're gonna lay it in there. Okay, it's in there. I'm gonna snip off the little tidbit and just make sure it's in. You're gonna take your scissors, open them up like this, and you're gonna kind of rub back and forth right there, and you'll see the feathers break apart. Because sometimes they'll be in clusters on there, and you don't want that, because if you wrap a cluster, it's just gonna be this big old obnoxious thing. So if I can go like this, I'll show you. See how I'll give it maybe 2 wraps. And some feathers might need a little bit more finesse when you get it on there. And then basically I'll just tie it off up towards the hood. Okay. And then snip that little dib bit. Okay. Clean it up a little bit. Get rid of the excess stuff you don't need in there. And that's what you get. You get a really nice wrap like that if you just take the time and do that little technique I showed you. You open up your scissors just a little bit like that. So you get your wood duck. And you're gonna lay a little wood duck on each side where the eye is as gills. Now you gotta fill in that little gap right there, just with the rabbit fur. Pull it off of the strip and apply it like dubbing on there. Kind of like a wet fly, you just kind of set it in there, and then when you wrap, you don't even have to trim this, it'll suck right in there. And with something like this, I like to really whip finish at least 3 times, if not 4, longevity of your fly. And then after, I won't show you this, the last step would be to put some super glue or Zap a Gap, whatever you use up front so that sucker is nice and secure. And that's kind of the finished product there. There you go. Of course, I'm going to snip that off, snip it off close to the wire, file that down a little bit with a file so that it doesn't scrape on that wire there and break your wire. My Sculpzilas as well, you can put beads in there. All the hooks are able to be swapped out. If you get snagged and they get dull, which they eventually do, you can swap them right out. It's a loop-to-loop connection. Thanks for watching. The Sculpzila is a great pattern to have in your box. I would highly recommend having a couple in your box. Great for steelhead, bass, and trout. If you have any questions or you would like to get a hold of Gypsy Fly Company, there's a link in the description of this video on YouTube with our Instagram account there. So feel free to follow us there on Instagram. Thanks again.